radio friends, it's Field Day 2025. Let's go.
Hi, my name's Mike. I'm a full-time traveler and ham radio operator. I activate amazing parks all over the United States. Join the adventure and see what's next.
Wow, do I really look like a guy with a plan?
That traveler has
I just do things.
This is a huge, beastly, bulging man. Plates were from Kansas.
Hey radio friends, it is a very warm, sultry Saturday afternoon near Cloverdale, California. More importantly, it is Field Day Saturday. We're here set up at a campground. I don't love being here for this event. It's going to present some real challenges, but I just really didn't plan Field Day this year into the traveling. So that was a mistake on my part, and so I'm here with a little bit of noise, a few issues that I'm going to have to mitigate. We'll see how it goes. I'll show you around the campsite. All right, so here we are. This is the site, and it's a really spacious site considering what you can get in this campground, but it still is just really, really limited as to what I can do with it. Let's zoom out a little bit here. Okay, so obviously the RV had to go on a particular slab, so we got it in there as best we could and still have the slides work with all the posts and the grill and everything, all the hookups. The only place to park the truck was right here in this space, and the tent, I just found the shadiest place possible. So even in mid-afternoon, which is important because I knew it was going to be warm, west is that direction. So from right here, you can tell there's still some really good shade. Whereas, I guess there's still pretty good shade here, but you're pretty close to being out here in full sun about mid-afternoon. So that spot worked out really good for the tent. And then the big challenge after settling all that was where to put the antenna. This is the antenna setup. It is the DX Commander, a new mast. So the first thing I did when we got into California was I tried to use this mast to set up the in-fed half wave, or the original mast for my DX Commander, and I snapped the mast about a third of the way down. So ordered a new one from DX Engineering, a new DX Commander mast, since they sell that stuff now. I got this sweet looking olive drab looking mast. I'll show that to you. So there it is. There you can see that color really well and that light, and you can just tell, these trees, that's just going to vanish. I mean, black was pretty darn good. It was maybe a little better at hiding in the trees. I mean, you could tell looking at that stem right behind it. If that pole was black, it would blend right in with those shaded stems, and I did like that. But when you had the Commander set up out in the open, that black mast really stood out. So I like having this lighter colored one. I might have, gone with like a lighter gray if I'd have bought a new one and still had my black one. So then when I'm out in the open, I could put up the light gray one and maybe it hides better in the sky. He's up there 10 meters. So I got the 40 and the 15 meter element going all the way up. The 20 meter element goes now all the way up to that spacer up there. There's basically no room even for the connectors now on this new mast. I did have like a 4-inch piece of the bungee cord, the shock cord, holding that up. But now that element is so close to that spreader, I've just got a piece just tied up there for now. I don't know how I'm gonna have to come up with some. I may just go straight to a plastic clip of some kind. Whoop, keep it in the shot there. Just go right to a plastic clip of some kind and attach it right there, just with one clip maybe. But it's got to be absolutely perfect then with no shock cord on it. So that's a little bit of a thing to solve. Then the 10 meter element goes up to the second spreader right there. So just with those 3 active elements attached to the base, I got 10, 15, 20, and 40. I did have an 80 meter wire running up this as well. It went up to that highest spreader right there, and then I ran it just over this corner of the RV into that tree beyond it, and it didn't work well. The 80 meter element really threw off the 40 meter element. So that 40 is something I'm definitely going to use more than 80. So I didn't want to sacrifice 40 to have 80. So I took the 80 out and 40 tuned up just like that. 15 was always really, really good. And for some reason with this new mast, I had to make adjustments to 20 and 10. So I've had this for a few years now, and every time I put it up and down, I was tweaking it. And I had just gotten it to the point I was confident enough in the setup that I made, you know, kind of permanent connections. So, you know, I had the wire exactly at the length that I wanted, and then I, you know, folded it over, tied it up, and put a shrink wrap on it. You know, nice, permanent. It's tuned in. It's great. But 20 was too short. Actually, I had to undo the shrink wrap and actually, you know, have a little less fold over to make my loop in order to tune that back in. And I think I could even do a little bit more. I'll have to refer to my notes, but I had to do that, and I had to shorten 10 meters a little bit. So I'm not real sure why that was the case. I've taken this antenna already to many different places, and the tune works fine pretty much everywhere, regardless of how I change the ground conditions. So I'm not sure what all that was about. But that took about a day to solve all those problems. Thankfully, I did that last weekend. So I've had this set up for a while. So I'm just running, you know, by rule then, because I had my antenna already set up, I have to run as a 1D, a 1 delta, a home station. And that assumes your antenna was already up before field day and you're not really setting up a portable station. And I'm okay with that because I'm not trying to do a portable station. I'm not trying to run on backup auxiliary power or anything like that. I have a different mission for this field day. So no problems with just running off the RV here that's plugged in. I still don't have any way really to attach my radios to a power system, so I'm still running those off batteries. But everything else I've got plugged in. When those batteries, I'm done with them tonight, I'll just throw them on the charger on the plug in the RV, which is running off shore power. I'm a 1 delta all the way. That's not my mission. Let's go check out the tent setup and we'll see what the mission is. Into the ham hut, the Hex Ham Hut. Zoom out a little bit here so it'll be easier to see in this small space. So here's the setup. A lot of cool stuff to drink. Supposed to get up to 99 degrees today, although we haven't hit a high temperature yet they've called for, but I think we'll be in the low to mid 90s regardless. We've got the HF station set up right there. The red case back there, that's not radio, that's camera and recording equipment. But I've got a VHF UHF, that's my FTM-6000. Right there ready to go for any kind of local comms. I've made a couple contacts with Ham Radio Wilderness Frank, KG6NLW, through his local repeater there. And I've got that. It just runs right up a cord here to my Arrow 2 chandelier, which is hung there in the top of the tent, just with some regular cordage and pointed generally in the direction of town. So 25 watts. I got to get over a little ridge, so I got to run a little bit of power, but I can make it good into the repeater there. I've got this is the computer that's going to be controlling the radio. This is my main work computer. I'll be doing my logging on that. And then I've got an extra screen here so I can have whatever I need up there. I need to do a video on this screen sometime and make I think I'm ready. I like it enough. I'll make a link that you guys can order one too on Amazon. But it basically can fold up just like that, like a tablet. And is a pretty good outdoor screen. It's not bright necessarily, but it's got a matte finish to the screen. And that works really good. I really like that matte finish because, you know, a lot of times I'll face it so the screen is facing away from the sun. But light is hitting me, and then I start reflecting in my screen. So, you know, I always try to wear like a shirt that didn't, like my shirt doesn't have any text or a pattern or anything on it. It's just a flat shirt, because any kind of noise I have on my shirt is going to reflect in that screen. But with this flat screen, that's not a problem. I don't see me at all. So as long as I'm facing away from sunlight, or, you know, I'm facing the sunlight, the screen's facing away, I can see pretty good in it. I haven't used it yet in a straight up full sun setting. So that'll be something to try someday, but so far, that's a pretty slick little, it's an InnoView monitor. I'll make a video and a link on that here in the future. All right, so that's the setup right there. Sit down in the chair here and see how we're doing. Discuss the mission. And conditions here are pretty poor. I've, you know, I've had to work a lot in the first half of the week so I could get ready to operate in the second half of the week. And I just didn't get a whole lot of testing and trial time. But what I did, I couldn't hear much. I'm pretty deaf in this spot. Some of it's just geography, and some are doldrums, afternoon delayer, and 20 meters just not getting very far, and 15 and 10 really don't come into where we can use them. You might have noticed when I was showing you the mast, there's some power lines right there behind it. I just didn't have too many options for setting up that antenna. I would like to have had it on the other end of our campsite, but that's where the truck and the RV got to be. And then, you know, then they're on the north side, right up against the antenna. I didn't like those options. Plus, it's more in the area where people will be walking around instead of in the back corner of our back campsite. We're at least in a high spot in the campground, so that's good. I do have some mountains around me. I don't worry about that anymore. But there's just a lot of things in here that can generate noise. Everyone's running their ACs all day long right now. Everyone's sucking power, and there's just a lot of noise. I'm having to use my noise blanker pretty much all the time, and it's tough to hear people, and people aren't hearing me too well either. So I'm not getting out too well. But all that kind of fits in pretty well with my mission for this field day, which is digital modes. Digital modes other than FT8. So I've had just a touch of experience in a couple non-FT8 digital modes. I've done some JS8 call, which is really just a different form of FT8. And I've done some SSTV. I'm going to try to get a couple of those, at least one contact on both of those today. I also want to get in the big ones, the PSK31 and the RTTY, and see what other kind of little modes. You know, can you find Olivia or Contestia contacts on field day? That's really what I'm going to try to do today. And the mission is just to get myself introduced to these more niche digital modes so that they're available to use in the future. And, you know, there's not a whole lot of signals using those modes on a daily basis, but I think that's something that we can change, and that's going to become a theme here on this channel, is to try to get some of that stuff going. I think there's enough people in POTA, there's enough operators, activators, and hunters in POTA, there's enough people that do digital. I think with a little bit of an organized effort, we can get more non-FT8, FT4 modes activating parks, really to reach the main goal of just always having PSK31, RTTY, Olivia, Hellschreiber, whichever one that one is, you know, all those other modes. Just, it'd be great to be able to hop on any day of the week, any time of the year, and be able to make contacts on those modes just like you can FT8, CW, SSB. You know, with POTA, what it's doing in ham radio today, I think that's the way to go. And stay tuned in the future. I'm gonna try to make a little bit of push to you know, organize a group of operators, maybe some regular day of the week or a regular day of the month. We go out, a group goes into the park, another group stays home and hunts. Maybe we have some kind of regularly scheduled, organized day where we'll all go out and run PSK31, or we'll all go out and run RTTY, or we'll all go out and run Hellschreiber, or whichever mode, you know, we pick for that time. JS8 call, who knows? everything but FT8. Nothing against FT8 really. It just doesn't need any help. If you ever want to make an FT8 contact, you never have a problem. I don't have anything against it. I don't really enjoy it. I see and understand the utility of it, and I like using it just for a band detector. My highest memories in my 891 are all the FT8 bands, so I can go through and just use this knob to twist through my memories, and I can listen to FT8 on all the different bands and hear which ones are loud and which ones start fading off. That kind of tells me which band I need to use. Because remember, I'm in a different spot all the time, so I got to learn the bands all over again, practically, monthly. So that's the mission for this field day, is just to get me and my station up to speed to be able to try some of these modes. Get all over those humps. I had to get FLDigi and FLRig and all those programs, SSTV, JS8 call, onto my smaller, my ham laptop. I don't know if it's all hooked up. I don't know if I can quite get it in there. That's the 12 volt gateway. I need to make a link for that. I don't know if they sell it anymore. I think I looked. I don't think they sell it anymore. But I had to get all the software on this computer, working with the radio, get all that tuned in, and now here I am in field day, ready to go to make some contacts. So it's field day's been going for 3 hours. I sat down about the first hour and a half, really trying to get a jump on it, make some contacts. I got one. I got one PSK31 contact, which is great because I know everything's working. So I'm really glad I got that one. Now I should just be able to switch the modes and do everything I want. And having FLRig set up for the 891 is really nice, because when I have this computer now and I can have it hooked up, I can control some of the things on the 891 that I can't, or I can, but I have to jump through those menu hoops to get to them. So I've got a little more access to things like the noise blanker, something that I'm using this weekend. One of my gripes for the FT-891 is it's only got 3 programmable buttons. It'd be nice to have more functions right there on the first screen, But hey, it's a portable radio. That's what you sacrifice: the screen and all the buttons and knobs that you have available to you on the front panel. But to be able to have FLRig up on my screen now, connected to the radio, I've got all kinds of little functions available to me just with a mouse click. I can hit my noise blanker, I can work the volume, I can work the RF gain, I can work my power setting. I can rock that around. I mean, that's handy just to be able to, again, I can get into that deep menu easy. And once I set the power, when I go back into it to change it again, it's still right there on the power setting. So that's not too bad. It's still easier to have it right there on the screen. I can hit the attenuator, I can turn IPO on and off, the noise blanker, digital notch filter. There's a tune button. I'm not sure what that does, but okay. And I can key the PTT. So, and of course I can change frequencies and things like that. That's pretty handy compared to, all the buttons I have available to me there. Maybe I could, pull up have 3 different recordings on there that I can play if I know I'm going to be operating with my computer, logging on the computer. I'll always have FLRig. That's going to be a nice change. All right, so that's field day so far. Not a whole lot of exciting stuff to report. I'm right in the middle of the afternoon. Sun is, it's 2 o'clock. The sun's pretty much directly overhead, or just past directly overhead. The good news is, if I'm trying to send my signal east behind me here, the D-layer is going to be thinning in that direction, so I'm hoping the bands are going to start picking up. Just checking the FT8 frequencies when I sat down here this morning. I was getting about S5 signals on FT8 on 20 meters, and that was as good as it got. So that's not great. But those are the conditions I'm working with. It's probably a good thing that I'm trying to work digital modes. I made a note in our little plan for scheduling this year. When we schedule out our travel in 2026, I want to make sure I'm in a nice, quiet, wide open spot. You know, a typical boondocking spot for us where I've got space. I don't have RF noise all around me. Preferably something that's not, you know, doesn't have too much terrain around me. You know, to open up some DX possibilities. We'll try harder next year. All right, so that's the early field day report. We'll see you in a bit. Hey folks, we're 6 hours in. Let's do another report here. I now have 4 contacts 6 hours in the field day. That in itself isn't really impressive. But I've got a contact on PSK, I've got a contact on JS8, FT-8, and FT-4. So we're starting to get some other modes mixed in there. JS8 was definitely one I wanted to add. I also had to make some adjustments to my SSTV setup. So that was a nice way to spend some time there and make sure that works. I'm back on PSK trying to hit that again. But I thought now that it got a little later, let's do our... not that button. Let's do a little check on the FT-8 frequencies and see how our bands are doing. Starting on 40. So I got S9 right there on 40. That's a big improvement. Moderate on 20, still doing pretty good. I think traffic is just picking up on 40, so that's why that seems better. But I'm getting some S9 on 20 right now, which that was at S5 before. So that's a definite improvement. And I'm getting a little bit of a reading here on 15 now. A little bit over S3. That was 0 earlier in the day. 10 meters, next to nothing. That's not surprising, 5 in the afternoon here. So hopefully bands are going to be turning around and improving. QSO rate will pick way up. That's the hope. We'll see if we can't get a few more. I took a stab at SSTV, but that didn't go through. Can't really run a whole lot of power because that just has to run for so long. And it's so hot out here. I got this fan blowing directly on the radio to try to keep it cool. So I don't want to run a whole lot of high power SSTV. I've been trying to do everything at 50 watts, which is decent for you know, a full power mode like anything digital. So I rolled it back to 25 for that and just didn't make any contacts. But hopefully bands will do better. I should be coming into some prime time. Should be from now to, I don't know, midnight. I should be able to make my most amount of contacts. We'll see how it goes. All right, folks. Digital contacts have remained slow and challenging. So I'm resorting to Morse Code just to get some contacts in the books. Make me feel better. I'm up to 11 contacts now, I think. According to my handy log here, yeah, 11. Yeehaw. I've covered about 5,000 miles of range. I've gotten 2,500 miles east to Maryland, D.C., to North Florida, and I just got Hawaii going the other direction. So covering 5,000 miles even when conditions aren't that bad. Morse code, baby. I think one of the real takeaways I'd like you to have from this video is to work on some weak signal modes. If you don't have any weak signal modes in your quiver, in your toolbox, the time's coming in the future when you'll wish you did. You know, I did a video where when solar minimum hits, yeah, you'll be able to make voice contacts. Yes, we'll still be able to do activations. You know, all that stuff's going to keep going. But there will be times when it's going to be a lot harder. And your options as far as bands are going to be a lot smaller. And where you get may not be as far. And it would be, there's going to be times where it would really, really help to have a weak signal mode. A lot of folks fall back on FT-8. That's fine if that works for you. I don't enjoy it that much. So, you know, that's why I'm working on some of these digital modes on FLDigi that, you know, you can actually type back and forth with another hand. And that's why I've been working on Morse code for 3 years now, is just to have all the tools in my kit. So I've got options. No matter what happens, I've got options. All right, I think that's enough dark nighttime footage now. I'll see how many more contacts I can get before I get kind of tired. And I will sleep. I've learned that staying up late does not do me any good on events like this. I just stay up and exhaust myself and don't make very many contacts. And then when the morning comes around and I come back out to start up again, I don't feel like it. So I've done better just going in and sleeping a little bit. That's the nighttime report. We'll see you in the morning. All right, I'm just going to try to record some video of me making a digital contact here. So just going real quick and dirty. Got the camera pointed at the controlling computer here. KA4HHM. Let me make sure I didn't get him yesterday. I don't think I did, but I know I tried. All right, I'll give him a shot. Oh, he's already in a conversation with someone there, so I better wait for that. I'm getting a text message. There we go. KA4. It garbles him a little bit, but I've seen his call sign. I know it's KA4HHM. Okay, and we're going to go. I got my field day reply program there. So you can see right here, it's sending his call sign from KE0VIM, KE0VIM, 1 Delta, San Francisco, 1 Delta, San Francisco, 1 Delta, San Francisco. Running 50 watts. I might have been right over top of somebody else. Or it could have been me. Let's try again. He just seemed to respond awfully fast. I have bumped the power up to 75 watts to make contact. I did not have a toroid in play, so that it should be okay. Just go into the DX Commander. Try not to put that much stress on my radio and draining my battery. But it seems like between 50 and 75 watts is the difference between making the contact or not. So. Okay, I think he's saying he's 1E NFL. I'm not sure he got it. I'm going to try again at a higher. He thinks I'm in Mexico. X-ray Echo 0. But I got his exchange information at this point. That came in clear. Oh, I don't know if he's got it. I suppose that's on him. I got his information. I can enter his information. NF North Florida. 1 Echo North Florida, and that was Kilo Alpha 4 Hotel. There we go. Alright, he wants me again. Try to get him the correct call sign. I'm logging it. So that's a little bit of a messy contact, but that's how it goes. I tuned my waterfall down here just enough so I don't see any yellow. You see, if I go over here where it says minus 20 right there. Yeah, so you want it set to read as quiet as possible. See there, I'm really starting to get some yellow flecks in the sound. So negative, that was negative 22. So I had it at negative 20, and that seems like it's doing all right. I'm no expert, so I have to use the phrase seems like. There's been a decent amount of traffic this morning. I've had 5 contacts now with that one, counting KA4HHM. So I'm happy with that. I only got 1 yesterday and no one could hear me. And to have 5 people hear me this morning has been fairly exciting. Okay, so let's do a little wrap up here. I don't think I need to wrap up too much because I've talked quite a bit already. First goal, get into the more obscure digital modes. Get my system set up, get to where I can run those modes. Total success. That was a success from the very beginning. I did have to make a little change on SSTV in the version of the software that I downloaded. I downloaded at first whichever one comes in Spanish, and it just seemed a little squirrely, and I found a different version from the same page that I could download. It's the same version number. It's not I can't remember the name. I'm going to have to look it up and see. Yonic. I downloaded Yonic first, and it was doing some squirrely stuff, and when it was in receive, when I was actually receiving an image, my radio would kick into transmit, but it wouldn't put out any power. It would just key to PTT. So I don't know what was going on there. I installed the new version. It brought all my templates into the new version, and it was fine. It's got it's the one here, I can tell you just by the logo. I think it's got like it says SSTV on it. Doesn't look quite like a graphic design. It looks like it's got an 8-bit little mountains with a sun on it. It says SSTV at the bottom, MMSSTV. That's what it was, MMSSTV. So that was the only adjustment I had to make. And I was pretty good after that. I got quite a few PSK31 contacts this morning. I was very I'm very excited about that. It did work well. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Why did that keep putting that into CW? I got 8 this morning, which is cool because I only got 1 all day yesterday, and I got 8 this morning. So things are working a little bit better. The noise was down a little bit. I think that's what was killing me yesterday, is my noise level was just too high. I might have had some people responding to me that I just couldn't hear. That might have been what happened yesterday. They could hear me, they were responding, I just couldn't hear them respond. I would happen to catch a transmission of theirs every once in a while, but maybe I was calling CQ and getting responses and just couldn't hear. I'd say it'd be cool to try out in a park sometime in a zero noise environment, but if it's not field day, I don't know how much PSK there's going to be going on. Maybe that's something I'll look into in the future. Maybe I'll give that a shot and see how that works. Try a contact or two in a low noise environment or a no noise environment. My S meter is normally sitting on 0, and I'm hearing signals. I'm hearing voices that don't even move the S meter. I mean, that's a fairly common occurrence in these activations out in these quiet parks. But that's a wrap for Field Day 2025 as a 1 Delta in Sierra Foxtrot. This is Kilo Echo 0 Victor India Mike. This is the Travelin' Ham. We'll see you next time.
Okay, folks, here's the deal.
I'm at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. This is going to be a special
One of the most intense trails.
This is the operating station.
That's a bear.
Wow. Do I really look like a guy with a plan?
The traveler has
I just do things.
He was a huge, beastly, bulging man. Plates were from Kansas.